Carpathian Mountains, Eastern Front, December 2019. Through excavation dust, archaeologist Dr. Elena Kovac photographed a skull showing bite force exceeding 2,000 pounds per square inch, twice that of any known predator, while her Romanian military escort refused to look at the remains and whispered prayers in a language older than the war that created this mass grave. From the depths of my collection, the War Maestro brings you a tale where the Eastern Front's darkest secret wasn't a weapon of steel and gunpowder, but one of blood and moonlight. The excavation site sat 3 miles from any marked road. Elena Kovac's team had been working the Carpathian Ridge for 6 weeks before they found it. The ground-penetrating radar showed something massive, something wrong. "This doesn't make sense," her assistant Marcus said, studying the readouts. "The density patterns are all over the place, like the bodies were just thrown in." Elena knelt beside the first exposed remains. The skeleton showed trauma unlike anything she'd seen in 15 years of battlefield archaeology. Ribs torn outward from the inside, spine twisted at an impossible angle. The skull bore puncture marks, canine teeth, but far too large. "These are Austro-Hungarian soldiers," she said, examining the corroded uniform buttons. "Based on the equipment, I'd say late 1916. Their Romanian military liaison, Lieutenant Popescu, stood 20 yards back. He hadn't come closer since they'd broken through to the burial pit. His face had gone pale when they'd uncovered the first body. "You should stop," Popescu said quietly. "This site is not stable." Elena ignored him. She'd heard that excuse before from governments trying to hide war crimes. But as she carefully brushed dirt from the next skeleton, her confidence wavered. This one clutched something in its bony fingers. A journal, leather-bound, pages stained dark brown. Blood, she realized. Very old blood. "Marcus, get the preservation kit," she called out. "We've got documents." The journal's cover bore an embossed eagle, the double-headed symbol of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Inside, the pages were filled with German script. No, she corrected herself, looking closer. The early entries were German. The later ones devolved into frantic scrawling that mixed languages. German, Hungarian, Romanian, and something else. Something that looked almost like claw marks. She photographed each page carefully. The first dated entry was clear, December 14th, 1916. The last entry was December 19th. 5 days. Whatever happened here took only 5 days. "What does it say?" Marcus asked, peering over her shoulder. Elena's German was decent enough for basic translation. She read the opening lines aloud. "Captain Franz Steiner, Mountain Infantry Battalion, 4th Army. Mission orders received. Secure the Oituz Pass before Russian winter offensive." Standard military documentation. But as she flipped through the pages, the writing changed, became desperate. The final pages were nearly illegible. Just one phrase repeated over and over in what looked like blood. "They are still men when the sun rises." Lieutenant Popescu's radio crackled. He stepped away to answer it, speaking rapid Romanian. When he returned, his expression had hardened. "The excavation is finished," he announced. "Romanian government has classified this site. You have 2 hours to pack your equipment." "Classified?" Elena stood, brushing dirt from her knees. "We just started. We've barely documented the first layer." 2 hours, Popescu repeated. "This is not a request." That night in her hotel room in the nearby village, Elena couldn't sleep. She'd smuggled out photographs of the journal pages. Against protocol, yes, but something about Popescu's reaction told her this site would disappear once they left. She pulled up the images on her laptop and began transcribing. Captain Steiner's account started normally enough. Weather conditions, troop movements, supply issues. But on December 15th, the tone shifted. Found Romanian village, population vanished, livestock slaughtered, claw marks on chapel doors. From the inside, Elena's hand stilled on the keyboard. She zoomed in on one photograph. The journal page showed a crude sketch, something that looked almost human. Almost. But the proportions were wrong. The jaw too large, the hands tipped with claws. Below the sketch, Steiner had written in small, precise letters, "Prisoner says they are not men when the moon is full. I shot him for spreading panic, but tonight I heard what he became." Elena's phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Check your email." DNA results came back early. She opened her laptop's mail client. The message from the genetics lab in Bucharest was brief and disturbing. The remains showed human DNA, mostly human, but there were anomalies, genetic markers that didn't match any known human population, markers that suggested something else in the bloodline. The lab director had added a personal note. "I've forwarded these results to the Romanian Ministry of Defense as required by law. I suggest you leave the country soon. Some things are better left buried." Elena looked at her packed bags in the corner. She should leave, take the hint. But she'd spent her career documenting war crimes and forgotten battles. This was different. This was something the world needed to know about. She opened a new document and began typing. Translation of Captain Franz Steiner's Final Dispatch, December 1916. If this tale from the War Maestro's archive has you hooked, subscribe now to join our ranks. Each declassified file reveals what history tried to bury. Now, what did Captain Steiner witness in those 5 frozen days? December 14th, 1916. Captain Franz Steiner's breath crystallized in the mountain air as his 40 men climbed the ridge toward Oituz Pass. The Carpathians rose around them like the teeth of some ancient predator. Frost coated every surface. "How much further, sir?" asked Sergeant Kovacs, a Hungarian from Budapest. His accent was thick, his eyes constantly scanning the tree line. 3 miles to the village," Steiner replied. "We secure it by nightfall." The unit was a patchwork of the Empire's dying strength. 20 Austrians, 12 Hungarians, 8 Czechs. Their unity existed only on paper. The Czechs muttered to themselves in their own language. The Hungarians complained about the cold. Everyone was hungry. They found the village 2 hours before sunset. That's when Steiner knew something was wrong. The houses stood intact. Smoke still rose from chimneys. A pot of stew sat over a fire in the central square, still warm, but not a single person remained. "They left in a hurry," said Privat Dimitriu, one of the Romanian-speaking soldiers. He pointed to abandoned belongings. Children's toys, a woman's shawl. "Look at the chapel." The wooden chapel doors hung open. Deep gouges ran down the wood. 4 parallel lines, like claw marks, but they ran from the inside out. Steiner approached slowly, rifle ready. The interior was worse. Benches overturned, religious icons shredded, and on the floor dried blood in patterns that suggested something had been dragged toward the door. "Sir, you need to see this," called Corporal Werner from behind the houses. The livestock pens told the real story. Sheep, torn apart but not eaten. Just destroyed. A cow's ribcage spread open like a flower. The ground churned up from something heavy moving on 4 legs. "No," Steiner corrected himself, studying the prints more carefully. Sometimes 4 legs, sometimes 2. "What kind of animal does this?" Werner asked, his face pale. Steiner had no answer. He'd seen death in a dozen forms across 3 years of war, but this was different. This felt deliberate, almost ritualistic. As darkness fell, they barricaded themselves in the largest house. Steiner posted sentries at every window. The men were spooked. Even the battle-hardened Austrians checked their ammunition twice. At midnight, the howling started. It came from all directions at once. The sound was wrong, too human, like voices trying to form words through animal throats. Sergeant Kovacs crossed himself. My grandmother told stories about things in these mountains, things that were men by day. Superstition, Steiner said, but his hand tightened on his rifle. Then they heard scratching at the walls. Slow, methodical, testing for weakness. Something was circling the house, something that knew they were inside. Dawn brought temporary relief. Whatever had circled them in the darkness had retreated with the sunrise. Steiner sent out a patrol to investigate the tracks. They found boot prints, human boot prints, leading away from the house and into the forest. Men on foot, Werner reported. At least a dozen. But sir, the stride length is wrong. Too long. Like they were running on all fours. At noon, they captured him. A Romanian irregular, hiding in a root cellar beneath a collapsed barn. The man was old, maybe 60, with wild eyes and hands that wouldn't stop shaking. He wore the remnants of a Romanian militia uniform. Translate, Steiner ordered Private Dimitriu. The old soldier spoke rapidly in Romanian. Dimitriu's face went pale as he listened. His hands trembled as he translated. He says we need to leave before nightfall. Says this valley belongs to the Wolf unit, the Special Wolf unit. What unit? Steiner demanded. More Romanian, more translation. He says the Romanian command conscripted them 2 years ago. Entire villages from these mountains. Men with the old blood. The wolf blood. Sergeant Kovacs laughed nervously. He's insane. Battle fatigue. But the prisoner grabbed Dimitriu's arm, speaking urgently. The translator's voice dropped to a whisper. He says they're not men when the moon is full. The Romanian officers don't care. They deploy them at night, turn them loose on enemy positions. By morning, they remember everything they did, every kill, every taste. Steiner studied the prisoner. The man's fingernails were unusually long, yellowed and curved like claws. His canine teeth protruded slightly over his lower lip. Where is this wolf unit now? Steiner asked. The prisoner pointed toward the mountains, spoke one word in clear German. Hunting. That night, they locked the prisoner in a storage room. Full moon rose at 8 o'clock. At 8:15, the screaming started. Not cries for help. Screams of pain, of bones breaking and reforming. Steiner threw open the door with his rifle raised. The prisoner was on the floor, convulsing. His spine arched backward at an impossible angle. His jaw was unhinging with wet cracking sounds. "Get back!" Dimitriu shouted. But it was too late. The thing that had been the prisoner lunged forward. Its face was elongating, fur erupting through split skin, yellow eyes fixed on Steiner with terrible intelligence. Steiner fired 3 times. The creature fell backward, blood spraying. But in those final seconds before it died, Steiner saw something that haunted him more than the transformation itself. The creature's eyes. They were still human, still aware, still terrified of what it had become. They burned the prisoner's body at dawn. No one spoke about what they'd witnessed, but Steiner saw it in their eyes. The Czechs clutched religious medallions. The Hungarians loaded extra ammunition. Everyone knew what was coming. The attack came at 3 in the morning on December 16th. Steiner was awake when the first sentry died. No scream, just a wet, gurgling sound. Then silence. He grabbed his rifle and ran to the window. The moonlight revealed shapes moving through the village square. Man-shaped, but wrong. "Contact!" he shouted. "All positions! Open fire!" The creatures came from 3 directions simultaneously, not charging blindly like animals, They used cover, advanced in coordinated bounds. One group suppressed the defenders with howls that shattered focus, while another flanked left. Military tactics. They were using military tactics. Werner fired from the second floor, his rifle cracking rhythmically. They're wearing uniforms. Romanian uniforms. Steiner saw it clearly now. Torn fabric clinging to massive frames. Equipment belts hanging from elongated torsos. One creature wore an officer's cap, somehow still perched on its transformed skull. "Aim for the heads," Steiner ordered. But the creatures were fast. Impossibly fast. They covered ground in great bounding leaps, using the terrain like trained infantry. When one fell to gunfire, the others adjusted tactics immediately. They began throwing debris to create distractions, coordinating their approach. Corporal Klaus screamed as claws punched through the wooden wall beside him. The creature's arm was inside the house, sweeping blindly. Klaus fired his pistol point blank into the limb. It withdrew with a very human sound of pain. "They feel it," Klaus shouted. "They feel pain, like men." The assault lasted 8 minutes. Then, as suddenly as it began, the creatures retreated, not fleeing, withdrawing, in good order, covering each other as they fell back into the forest. Steiner counted his men. 12 dead. 4 wounded badly enough to be combat ineffective. In 8 minutes, they'd lost nearly half their strength. "Check the bodies," he ordered. Werner descended with a lantern. He knelt beside one of the fallen creatures and pulled away its torn collar. Dog tags, Romanian military identification tags. "Sir," Werner's voice shook. "This one is Colonel Petrescu, Romanian 3rd Infantry. We received reports he died last October, killed in action at Brasov." Steiner felt his stomach turn. "They deploy the dead ones? Or they don't stay dead," Sergeant Kovac whispered. As dawn broke, Steiner found claw marks gouged into the dirt outside, not random scratches. Letters, Romanian words scratched by something with claws instead of fingers. The message was simple. "We remember you now." December 16th, late afternoon. The bodies from the morning attacks still lay in the square where they'd fallen. No one wanted to retrieve them, not after what they'd seen scratched in the dirt. "We should burn them," Kovac said. "Before dark." Steiner nodded. He assigned 4 men to gather wood. Private Fischer volunteered to drag the first body to the pyre. He was halfway across the square when the ground beneath him collapsed. Not ground, a covered pit, freshly dug during daylight while they'd been barricaded inside. Fischer fell 12 feet onto sharpened stakes. His screams echoed off the mountains. Steiner rushed to the pit's edge, rifle ready. Fischer was alive, impaled through the thigh and shoulder, bleeding badly. "Get rope!" Steiner shouted. But before anyone could move, something dropped into the pit from the far side. Man-shaped, moving in full daylight, its transformation was incomplete. Face still mostly human, hands ending in claws. It wore the torn remains of a Romanian officer's coat. It looked up at Steiner, smiled with too many teeth. Then it turned to Fischer. The private's screaming changed pitch, became something Steiner would hear in nightmares for whatever remained of his life. The creature wasn't killing him quickly. It was feeding, slowly, methodically, making sure they all watched. "Shoot it!" Werner yelled. Steiner fired, hit the creature twice in the chest. It staggered but didn't stop, just looked up at him again, still smiling. Then it grabbed Fischer's body and dragged it into a tunnel that opened in the pit's wall. A tunnel they dug, underground, leading toward the houses. "Fall back," Steiner ordered. "Everyone inside. Now." They barely made it. As the last man crossed the threshold, creatures erupted from the earth in 6 different locations. They'd been digging all day, creating a network of tunnels, waiting for dusk. This attack was different. Not a coordinated assault, a hunt. individual creatures stalking individual men. They split the defenders, isolated them, picked them off one by one. Corporal Hines died first, dragged through a window so fast his rifle clattered to the floor unfired. His screaming lasted 30 seconds, then silence, then wet chewing sounds that made 2 men vomit. Private Andrus broke, ran for the back door, made it 5 steps into the darkness before something took him. They heard his bones breaking, heard him begging in check, heard the begging stop. The creatures were playing with them now, testing their defenses, learning their breaking points. One would attack from the east, draw their fire, while another circled west, probing, always probing. At midnight, they stopped. Complete silence. Steiner counted his men. 18 left. 7 more dead. 3 missing, presumed taken. In the morning, they found the missing men, or parts of them, arranged in the square. A message written in blood on the chapel wall. Romanian words. Even Dumitriu refused to translate at first. "What does it say?" Steiner demanded. Dumitriu's voice was barely audible. "Tomorrow night, we take our time." Steiner noticed something else. Boot prints in the blood. Human boots, leading toward the Romanian command post at the village edge, as if inviting them to follow, to discover something. They were being herded, guided. The creatures wanted them to find something specific. December 17th. The radio was dead. Someone had shredded the cables during the night. The cuts were precise, methodical, made by claws that understood what they were destroying. Steiner sent scouts to re-establish contact with headquarters. None returned. By noon, he accepted the truth. They were cut off, surrounded. The creatures were keeping them contained. "Sir, I found something," Dmitri called from the abandoned Romanian command post at the village edge. Inside, filing cabinets stood open, documents scattered across the floor. Steiner gathered papers with shaking hands. Official Romanian military orders, medical records, photographs. One document bore the header, Special Wolf Unit, Deployment Authorization. Steiner read aloud for his men to hear. Conscription criteria, hereditary markers confirmed through village records, bloodline verification mandatory, subjects recruited from Carpathian settlements with documented wolf ancestry. "This is insane," Werner said. But the evidence was undeniable. Medical files detailed soldiers with unusual physical characteristics, extended canines, increased night vision, heightened aggression during lunar cycles. The Romanian command hadn't created these men. They'd found them, weaponized them. A photograph showed Romanian soldiers standing in formation. 20 men, young, strong. Their eyes caught the camera flash wrong, reflected it back like animal eyes in lamplight. Handwritten notes in the margins. Unit performs exceptionally during night operations. Minimal ammunition expenditure. Enemy casualties severe. Psychological impact on opposing forces. Extreme. Steiner found deployment records. The Wolf unit had been used against Austrian positions 6 times in 1915. Casualty rates among defenders exceeded 80%. But the unit suffered losses too. 5 soldiers killed. Their names circled in red ink with a notation. Remains destroyed per protocol. No recovery. "They know they can't let the bodies be captured," Kovac said quietly. Another file showed something worse. Transfer orders. 3 soldiers from the Wolf unit reassigned to training command. Posted to camps throughout Romania. The notation beside each name, breeding program approved. "They're spreading it," Demetria whispered. "Creating more." That night, the creatures didn't attack. They talked instead, called out in Romanian, in Hungarian, in German, perfect accents, using voices of dead soldiers. "Franz," came a voice from the darkness. It sounded exactly like Werner's younger brother, killed at Verdun. "Franz, Why won't you help me? I'm cold out here. Werner raised his rifle toward the sound. Tears streamed down his face. Don't listen, Steiner commanded. It's not him. But the voice continued, pleading, begging, using memories only Werner's brother could know. The creatures had learned them somehow, extracted them from the dead. At dawn, they found writing in the frost on the windows, Romanian words. Dimitriu translated, his voice hollow. 3 days. Then we come inside. December 18th. Steiner noticed it first in the mirror. His fingernails had grown longer overnight. Not much, just enough to be wrong. He tried trimming them. They grew back within hours. His sense of smell had changed too. He could identify each man by scent alone. Werner smelled like gunpowder and fear, Kovacs like sweat and old leather. The distinctions were sharp, too sharp. Sir, you're bleeding, Dmitri said, pointing to Steiner's forearms. 4 parallel scratches ran down each arm, self-inflicted. He had no memory of making them, but he recognized the pattern, the same marks they'd found on the prisoner's body. How many men do we have left? Steiner asked, changing the subject. 22 effective, 8 wounded. Ammunition for maybe 1 more engagement. Not enough. They wouldn't survive another assault. Steiner knew this with terrible certainty, but something else bothered him more, a growing hunger that had nothing to do with their dwindling food supplies. He pulled Kovacs aside privately. My mother's family. They were from Transylvania, mountain villages near the Romanian border. Kovacs stared at him. Understanding dawned slowly. Sir, you can't be serious. The prisoner said they conscripted entire bloodlines. What if my family... Steiner couldn't finish the thought. That afternoon, Steiner wrote his final journal entries. His handwriting had deteriorated. Letters slanted wrong. Some words trailed off into scratches. December 18th, 1916. We prepare to break through tonight. Moonless sky. Our only advantage. The creatures are stronger under the full moon. Perhaps we can slip past them in darkness. But I fear I won't make it to headquarters. I feel it inside me now. The hunger, the change. My great-grandmother used to tell stories about ancestors who walked the mountain passes at night, protected the family land. I thought they were just stories. Perhaps Dimitriu should lead the breakout instead. Perhaps I should stay behind, draw them away. Or perhaps I should lead from the front, use what I'm becoming against them. Fight fire with fire. The entry ended abruptly. The next page showed only claw marks gouged deep through paper. At midnight, Steiner assembled his remaining men. We move in 1 hour. Stay together. Move fast. If anyone falls, keep moving. What about you, sir? Werner asked. Steiner flexed his hands. His fingernails had hardened, curved slightly, like talons. I'll be right behind you. But that was a lie. He could feel the transformation beginning, bones shifting beneath skin, muscles tightening. The moon was 3 days from full, but he could feel its pull already. He had maybe 2 hours before he lost control completely. 2 hours to get his men to safety, or 2 hours to become what he'd been hunting. December 2019. Dr. Elena Kovacs stared at her laptop screen in her hotel room. The final pages of Steiner's journal had been photographed, but were nearly illegible. Just scratches, claw marks, and one word repeated in what looked like blood. Free. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Dr. Kovacs. The voice spoke English with a thick Romanian accent. You need to stop your research. For your own safety. Who is this? Someone who knows what you found. The site is classified for reasons you cannot understand. Leave Romania tonight. The line went dead. Elena packed quickly, but first she uploaded all her photographs to 3 separate cloud servers. Insurance. As she drove toward Bucharest airport, headlights appeared behind her, following, matching her speed exactly. She pulled into a rest stop. The vehicle passed without slowing. Military plates. Romanian Special Forces. At the airport, Elena's boarding pass triggered an alert. Security escorted her to a private room. A man in civilian clothes waited inside. Military bearing. Cold eyes that reflected the fluorescent lights wrong. "Your research ends here," he said quietly. "The files you uploaded have been removed. Your university will receive notice that you violated excavation protocols. No one will believe anything you claim to have found." "Why?" Elena demanded. "What are you hiding?" The man smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Some traditions run deeper than nations. Some bloodlines serve purposes you cannot comprehend. The men in that grave died 80 years ago, but what they fought against still serves Romania." He stood to leave, then paused. "My grandfather knew Captain Steiner. Said he made it out of those mountains. Changed, but alive. Joined the Romanian side after the empire collapsed. Lived a long life in these hills." Elena felt her blood run cold. "That's impossible. He'd be over 100 years old." "My grandfather died at 98, looked 50. My father is 73, looks 40. The man's smile widened, showing slightly elongated canines. "We age differently. Heal faster, serve better. The old blood has its advantages." He opened the door. "Your flight leaves in 1 hour. I suggest you're on it." Elena flew back to her university in Hungary. Her research was officially discredited. The excavation site was sealed under 20 feet of concrete, declared structurally unstable. But 6 months later, a package arrived at her office. No return address. Inside, a photograph from 1943, Romanian soldiers in formation. She recognized one face immediately, Captain Franz Steiner, wearing a Romanian uniform, eyes reflecting the camera flash like mirrors, still alive, 27 years after his journal ended. On the back, handwritten in German, "Some of us learned to control it. Some of us chose to serve. The war never ended for us. It just changed sides." Elena looked up current Romanian Special Forces recruitment, mountain warfare specialists, deployed to the Carpathians. Villages with names she recognized from Steiner's journal still supplied most recruits. She opened her laptop and began typing. Translation of Captain Franz Steiner's final dispatch, December 1916. The world needed to know, even if no one would believe her. If this declassified file from the War Maestro's archive has left you questioning what still prowls the Carpathian peaks, join our ranks by subscribing now. Share this testimony with those who understand that some bloodlines carry more than just family resemblance. They carry ancient hunters within. And remember, Romanian Special Forces still recruit heavily from those mountain villages. The War Maestro's archive holds answers, but some questions are better left unasked until the next file is unsealed.